So I'm Grace.
Hi, Grace.
I'm an intern here at Cornerstone, and today I'm going to talk about something that I'm super passionate about and something that we're trying to put more of an emphasis on at Cornerstone, and that thing is assimilation.
Woo! Yeah! Woo!
Assimilation is kind of a big churchy word for welcoming students in, and I think that as like a church, this is so important to us because the way we say it at Cornerstone is encountering Jesus changes everything, and we may only have one chance with each student. So I'll share some background onto why I'm passionate about this. All of us have had a time in our lives when we felt left out. Like, I can guarantee every single one of us has that experience. It might be at work, it might be at school, it might be even be at church. And my story comes from when I was in high school. I was an 8th grader moving up to high school, and I was so excited to go into that ministry because I'm like, yeah, I'm an adult now, I'm so cool, and I was just so ready to move up. And finally, the glorious night came where I was going to be a high schooler. And I remember, if you could look into my 14-year-old brain, and you'd probably see something like, woohoo, I'm so awesome, I'm in high school, yeah. And I remember getting there, and no one talked to me, no one even remembered my name, no one tried to even be there for me at all. And I remember I went home and I cried to my mom about how awful youth group was and how I never wanted to go back. And the only reason I ended up going back was because I was a pastor's kid and I felt like I had to. So I went the next week, and unfortunately it was just as bad. No one talked to me again, not even a leader. And I remember vividly, like still to this day, standing in the middle of that room with all of these people around me, but feeling like the most lonely I've ever felt in my entire life. So that's why I am so passionate about assimilation, so no one else has to feel that way. So what assimilation is like I said, is a big churchy word for welcoming students in. And at Cornerstone, that kind of means from the parking lot to the seat of the sanctuary, and then from the seat to the parking lot, and everything involved in that process. So at Cornerstone, the main aspects where you guys can help are at the kiosk, at the new student table, and just like the experience of the patio, whatever. We want to make it, our main goal is to make it a welcoming place where they feel like they can be connected and that they have a place to belong. So as you can see on my amazing handout that looks really nice, our goal is Cornerstone has guest to friend to family, and we decided that that was too cheesy and not good enough for high school, so we changed it to guest to homie to squad. So that's kind of our goal and how we assimilate one into our youth group. So I'll kind of walk you through the process. This goes through from a student's first day to hopefully we get them all the way into student leadership. So I'll kind of run through it. The first part is the entry points, and that's the greeters, the kiosk, host, hostess, new student table, student leadership team, and the volunteer team. And I'll go more in depth about those in a couple minutes. So let's say it's the student's first day. The main goal is that they feel welcome and that they feel cared about. It's super important to get them to fill out a connect card, because that is how we communicate with them. That's how we invite them to things. So if you encounter a new student, make sure you bring them to the new student table to fill out one of those connect cards, because it's super important, like I said.
Grace, where that table is outside and to the right of the doors, is that where the new student table is
Yes.
at? Okay.
We have a new sign coming in that's going to make it so super clear that that's the new student table, but that will be around soon. And it's also very important that if the person at the new student table hands that student off to you, that you stay with them the whole time. You can make a huge difference just by remembering their name and caring about them. I have another story, happens to be about Don Stevens. He probably never doesn't remember this, but
Oh boy.
so I am Zach's sister, and yes, he's always been this loud and obnoxious. It used to be worse, actually, if you can believe it.
I'm regretting this moment right now.
But last year, we randomly came to Arizona because I'm from Minnesota to visit Zach, and we decided to go to his church and kind of see what he's been doing with his life. And I remember I walked in to the student center, and I was immediately greeted by Don Stevens. And he said hi to me, he asked me what my name was, and I was just in shock that someone had actually greeted me. And then at the end of the service, he came back up to me and he remembered my name and then said goodbye to me. And I was like, whoa, where was my Don Stevens in high school? So that's just how
Made me
important
cry.
it is.
Did I think you were in the 10th grade?
What?
Did I think you were in the 10th grade?
Probably.
Yeah, I bet I did. I did that to Emma. I assumed that she was a 10th grader, and she was like,
I
I'm an
assumed
adult.
that I was in junior high before, so it's fine.
Thank you, Grace.
It's not very bad.
That makes me, no, I'm gonna cry.
So just that Don Stevens had that much of an effect on me, who wasn't even a high school student. That's how much of an effect assimilation can have on someone. So first attendance, first day, they come in. We're starting this new thing where we are providing food for them afterwards. So that's the point where we kind of get to know where they are spiritually. We call it intentional movement. I wrote it down so I get it right. Intentional movement is a strategy to accurately assess where a person is spiritually and purposefully move them towards becoming a fully devoted follower of Jesus. So where you guys can help us out there is we're looking for volunteers to help provide food for that. It's such a simple thing. Like, you could buy a couple pizzas, you could make some sandwiches one day, but just that alone, like, that is the reason why a kid could stay and why a kid could meet Jesus and become a fully devoted follower of Jesus just by giving them a piece of pizza. You know what I'm saying? And like, that's the place where they feel like they're connected, and we can find out where they are spiritually so we can help them in that situation. Like, if they're a new believer, we can get them into a class for that, or if they're thinking about getting baptized, we can give them the information for that. The next step is main event. I don't know if you guys have heard about that yet, but we're taking new students to main event, which is like Dave and Buster's, but way cooler. So if you're a new student, if you're a new believer, and like if you just haven't come in a while, that is where the new students will go, and we can just connect with them further. They get to meet the staff, they get to meet student leaders, and it's just a whole lot of fun, and that's how they can feel like Cornerstone is the place for them to belong.
Grace, will you tell them what happened at the first and only main event? Just
Yes.
the two highlights. It's a really cool ministry.
So we went last month, I think it was, and a couple of them showed up, and it was just amazing conversations. Like, one of them dedicated her life to the Lord.
That main event.
At main event,
Wow.
it was her first time eating the
What?
pizza. Yeah, and then the other two got to talk with Anthony and I, and we prayed for them, and they ended up getting information about baptism and just all this amazing things that happened just eating pizza at main event.
And one of the workers that was standing by, what happened with her?
Oh yeah, Anthony got one of the workers a part too. He got to pray for her, and she came in and she got connected with church just because our group was there having ministry at main event.
What? She was actually cutting herself every night. She's bulimic. And so she was struggling. She had suicidal thoughts that night and said she wasn't going to go to work because it was another spout of depression. But something told her to go because she was hurt by her previous church because she had tattoos. And so they would not let her come into church anymore because she had tattoos. That she's always had a hate relationship with God, and that now she's going through counseling with our church, is now given her life rededicated back to the Lord. All through these moments that we just were going truly to have fun and eat. But God always shows up in relationship.
And the final step after that is we hope to get students to our Come Grow sessions are Thursday nights to life groups. And that's just providing them a way or providing them an atmosphere where they can just get to know Jesus, which is the best thing that anyone could ever have. So you might be wondering, Grace, how can I help you with all these wonderful things? And guess what, guys? I'm going to tell you. So if you look on the back of my wonderfully made sheet that was really beautiful, you can see how to help. So the first thing is greeters. This is something that we haven't been doing a lot, but can make a huge difference. Just by someone smiling at a kid and holding the door for them could change a person's whole day and just how they even view church. So greeting is one way you could help by just standing at the door and smiling, and it's really great. The second way you can help is the check-in kiosks. Guys, check-in is so important. It's so important, and the reason why is this is how we can tell if a student has been not coming for a couple of weeks. We can run a report and see who's there and who's not. So when we run this report right now, we're getting a bunch of people who are there, they're just not checking in. But we want to make sure that we can care about these kids and know what's going on in their life and send them a card, and this we can provide a way for them to feel like they're cared about, like they belong, and that Cornerstone could be the place where they get to know God better. So check-in is so important. If you're looking for a place to volunteer on Sunday, there's always a place at check-in.